Lifesaver 4. It's just another tool that emergency response personnel have when it comes to saving lives. Lifesaver 4 is stationed at Lee Merkel Field in Sylacauga and usually operates within a 50-mile radius of Sylacauga. There are 3 crew members, a pilot, a paramedic, and a flight nurse. At a staged wreck scene with the assistance of Sycamore Volunteer Fire Department and Sylacauga Ambulance, Lifesaver also arrived for very important training drills. We caught up with Jeff Wright, paramedic, and Joy Shelton, flight nurse, and here's what they had to say.
Flight paramedic Lifesaver. Primarily on scene flights. Paramedic is lead. We do inter-facility flights as well, from hospital to hospital, and usually the flight nurse will be the lead on that, because they're more familiar with how that operation works in a hospital. Scenes, our paramedics have to have at least 5 years experience, so we're pretty well versed in the sequence of events that happens on a scene and the danger areas and what's going on, so we usually take the lead on that. Here in Sylacauga, we have a pretty high call volume. It's about 50-50 between scene flights and inter-facility. We set a record 2 months ago with 54 flights for the month, and that's the highest call volume we've had in Sylacauga. As far as what happened here today with this training scenario, we had a single vehicle MBC versus a tree with entrapment. What happens generally is the fire department will get on the scene, they'll respond to an ambulance as well. When the ambulance gets there, they'll notify the Trauma Communications Center in Birmingham and enter that patient in the trauma system. That way they're able to track them from admission to discharge. The ground ambulance generally will notify our dispatch, which is at the Trauma Communications Center, and they will notify us of a location and get us en route. When we get here, we will assume patient care responsibilities at that time. As far as this, we extricated the patient, we'd load them on the helicopter, and we would transport them to UAB from here, Level 1 Trauma Center, if at all possible, Level 1 Trauma Center. Around here, we have real good volunteers and ambulance service. We do a lot of cross-training just like this with them, so they know what to expect of us, and we know what to expect of them. We work well together. They know conditions pretty much that we can fly in.
I am the flight nurse with the crew. I am responsible for the patient, of course, me and the medic. When we land on the scene, I will start at the bottom of the ambulance, and the medic will come in the side door. He will begin to assess the head. I will begin to assess from the feet up, checking the pelvis, checking the legs, looking for any obvious signs of injury, talking to the patient, asking the paramedics and the EMTs on the scene if there's any information that we need, any allergies, medications, anything that they might have gathered during extrication of a patient. And then after we see that the patient is stabilized far enough to fly and the medic is good with the airway, then I will go back to the aircraft and load out the sled and get ready for the patient to be brought out. There's not a whole lot of difference. Matter of fact, our monitors are pretty much the same as what the ground crews carry. The main difference is speed, of course. We can take them faster, and we don't have the obstacles that ground crews have to get them to a hospital or facility sooner. And we also we're able to carry the nurse, being the nurse on the board, we can carry medications that the ground crews can't carry. So there are things that we can do as far as helping to intubate the patient and secure an airway that the ground crews are not able to. They're not licensed in this state to do at this time. But pretty much the equipment, the oxygen, the airway stuff, everything that we have, they have on the ground. There's nothing really special on the aircraft other than speed and drugs. Well, yeah, there's one other thing. The ground crews are the beginning of everything, from the first responders to the medics that come in the truck. We can't do our job unless they do their job. So it's not all about Lifesaver flying this patient out. It starts with the ground crews, what they do before we get there, and the process of getting them to a trauma room or to a facility and letting them continue care. It's all one big team. It's got nothing to do with one part or the other. We all work together. Volunteer fire departments they have to exist. They have to exist. These people go out in the middle of the night when somebody else can't get there. If a fire department might be on the scene, these volunteer people go out there first. They assess the damage. They start the care. They start the work on these patients and these situations. Without them, time would be delayed greatly. We do need the volunteer fire departments more than a lot of people realize. These folks dedicate their time and their passion for other people. They don't get paid for this. They do that because they enjoy it and they want to help someone.